Hello viewers, well, welcome to our first look at Motorsport Manager. I'm joined today by Tim Goodchild.
Hi Alan.
And Tim, you handle our Formula 1 content, Formula 1 reviews, and of course you've played Motorsport Manager on the original mobile version. Of course, we've been looking forward to this on console for a long time. You've enjoyed what you've played, but we'll get to all of that in just a moment. Firstly, tell me a bit about the mobile version, what drew you to it?
Well, I think we've been looking for a decent representation of motorsport as a management sim for quite a while, and certainly from background of motorsport sims and management sims, it's been slim pickings for many years. And with the advent of sort of smartphone gaming, in terms of football management sims, they've been around for a while on a handheld device. So when Motorsport Manager appeared, what was that, about 18 months ago, downloaded and became an instant appeal. They managed to capture many elements of motor racing from a pit wall side, and also capturing the politics off track very well. I would say perhaps the overall limitation was that once you hit the top echelons of the game itself, there was no sort of real you've achieved it. Well, what next?
Yeah, it's all over now.
So, and that's I think where the limitation of a mobile device and a mobile game has it. So it had great attention for a period of about 2 or 3 months, but have I played it in the last year? No.
Well, exactly. I mean, it's one of those. It's a mobile game, so it's kind of but it gave a good taster, and I think it showed to the developers that there was definitely a market out there for it. Now we come to the PC versions, which are coming on PC and Mac version. We'll be seeing video here featured from both the Mac and PC versions, and it adds an awful lot more options besides visuals of the cars running in the race, where it's just dots on a map. Now you actually see visuals of the racetracks of the cars, and it adds so much more in terms of personality. Of course, this game is unofficial, doesn't have the official licenses, so that they can really sort of work in terms of the characters and the drivers and what they would say and do. Can you imagine trying to clear everything up there with the FIA? Wouldn't be fun. So, Tim, talk us through the PC and Mac versions now, and what are the new options that people can look forward to?
Yeah, sure. So, like you said, there is no official license, but in all honesty, I think from playing this game this week, the need for an official license just isn't there. So when you go into the beginning of the game, you set up who you are as a manager, and there are various options in terms of obviously what you'd expect from just defining who you are as a person, but also, are you an ex-driver? Are you an ex-mechanic? Are you somebody with no experience, but you have an influence in terms of politics in the sport? And if you choose that one, which admittedly I chose to begin with, you potentially have influence in defining the rules of the sport, and you get an opportunity to vote for rule changes throughout your motorsport career, which is a great addition and insight to real world motorsport. But you go through and you have 3 options basically to which series you want to sign up to. So you have European Racing Series, Asia Pacific Super Cup, or the World Motorsport Championship. The easiest way to think of it is you've got GP3, GP2 and Formula 1 if you wanted to compare it to real world motorsport series. The idea is if you go into the World Motorsport Championship, the F1 copy so to speak, you're going to be fighting for biggest money rewards, but obviously highest pressure. I opted to go right in at the beginning, European Racing Series, much lower rewards, but you basically start off with a bare bones team, and then you look to move on from that.
So you're starting off entry level. Is there a difficulty curve? Do you start with less responsibility, and does that develop, or is it straight away you're in with all the standard management stats and away you go?
Well, yes and no really. So even within all series, you basically start off with a choice of a variety of teams who you want to manage from the off. And like with any sport, you will have some great teams, some middle of the road teams, and some pretty basic teams. So you choose how difficult you want to make it, really. If you go in, for example, we've got a team here, the Garuda Racing team from India, within this game mode has been best in the championship. They've already got best resources. So if you want an easy ride into the beginning of the game, you go for that team. In contrast, if you go for what they call the Predator team, it's got barely nothing. You've got a budget of £250,000 compared to the top team that had a budget of £4 million. And then you've got the middle of the road teams as well, all with the different sort of pros and cons. And you can sort of see how you compare in terms of what your drivers are like, how much facilities you've got, what your current team staffing levels are like compared to other people in the championship.
Well, it shows how tough it is, really. I mean, when we look at teams such as Manor and such like in Formula One, they're always complaining, Force India, such like, they're always complaining that the money isn't well spread out. Here, now you can really see what sort of budgetary limitations you have. I mean, you're up against teams with way more money to spend. I will just say, visually, the cars look really nice, very authentically designed and everything. It's got a really nice sort of authentic look to it. And the presentation so far has been excellent as well. It's a really nice quality presentation throughout. Looking now, we're going into the racetrack. It'll be interesting to see some of the racing. I've seen a quick clip, EGX, I saw a few people racing there. They were stuck in, enjoying themselves, and really impressed with the level of modelling in the environments. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. And I think what's really clever is that they've clearly looked at Formula One as the model to go for, and to really, obviously they're wary of the fact they don't have a license, don't have the official license, but you start off the first race for the European season in the Black Sea in Russia, and the outline of the track looks like it's Sochi, but it's not Sochi.
Yeah.
And same, like later in the game, you race around the Ardennes in Belgium. It looks like it could be Spa, but at the same time, it's not Spa.
I will say, actually, it does look very much like Sochi, but we all had a lot of fun racing as Heyman Dill many years ago. Let's not forget, when it came to unofficial games, and whatever unofficial games there are, if the game's good and it gives you that vibe, then it works. Immediately you can see they've got their Herman Tilke bland designs down with the Sochi circuit here. It's very similar. And again, like you say, very impressive in terms of the amount of modelling.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you are into the race, I've never been so interested in watching tiny little car sprites go around on a racetrack. It's incredibly authentic straight away, and you get right into what it feels like to be Christian Horner on the pit wall. Your foot might be waggling, and you're really within it. What I would say that when you do start off for the first time, the tutorial is taking you through that first race. It's taking you through every single aspect that you need to know about how to get the best out of the game, and you'll find that the first couple of hours you spend in the game is basically one long tutorial, but it's very detailed. If you know anything about Formula One and motorsport, you can talk about different tyre types, how to set up a car, compounds and what have you. We know what it's about, so you can sort of skip through various things, but at the same time it's useful to know, to get reminders of how it works, particularly in this game. So
you need to really invest that initial time to get stuck into it, but if you're an F1 fan, you'll pick up on all that very quickly, and then you get into the game, and I guess really it becomes sort of an F1 dream in a way. You do feel like you're the man on the pit wall, working on strategy. I guess there's live strategy in the race as well. You're looking at tyre deck and stuff like that. You're looking at undercuts and everything, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got the weather. You've got I've had a couple of races where you've got the safety car to involve, and it's great to be mid-race. Safety car comes out. Do you pit? How do you manage your fuel load? Let's be in the early stages of this game, certainly within the European Championship mode, refueling is part of the game. So you have to manage that.
I miss refueling, I have to say.
Yeah,
miss refueling. It did add a lot of extra strategy. It wasn't just down to tyres. You could do a lot in terms of the car weight and making the difference and getting, track position. It's a shame we don't have that in Formula One now. It's just the tyres. But good that they've included it in the game in their fantasy rules.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, you are managing the full strategy through the race. Tyres wear out. Do you push the engine modes? Do you push the attacking style on the racetrack? Push how you drive? Will degrade the tyres faster. Push the engine, you'll degrade your engine itself, but also you'll burn more fuel through the race as well. Obviously, you're then managing 2 drivers at once. They even have things like number 1, number 2 drivers built in. But you start off with a driver which has a bit of an ego and refuses to accept any team orders from you. So then you have to manage that. And very quickly you become quite attached to how you manage people yourself, and so myself, I don't like people who have egos and so forth. So I'm already thinking I want to get rid of this driver at the earliest opportunity.
No fourth place finishes for you.
Absolutely, but at the same time, you are very conscious of keeping your chairman happy, the amount of budget you've got, and you look at how much it costs to terminate someone's contract, and you think, I'm going to have to put up the ego guy for the remainder of his contract before I can actually terminate that. But it's those little nuances within this game which have sort of set it already apart from other motorsport management sims.
Now, you see some of the characters. Do the characters look similar to some of the drivers we all know and maybe love?
Well, in the whilst you're doing your season within the equivalent of like GP3 is what I'm currently working on at the moment, you are part of an annual calendar year, so you still see the same results come up from the higher echelons in motorsport. So the Grand Prix World Championship, which is also the F1 sim. No name within the game is the equivalent, or you wouldn't think that's Hamilton or what have you. I think the equivalent of Hamilton is a black guy within the game, but it's H. Chapman. So it's not Hamilton.
No.
But I suppose if you said Chapman quickly, Chapman Hamilton, I don't know whether there's a link there.
Well, would it have been Hewis Lamilton?
Well, no, you don't get any of that, which I think is probably a good thing.
It's probably a good thing.
But what is quite comical though is that you look at the list of drivers that are in that championship. When you start up, you'll see, for example, there is a British guy with a German guy, and then you'll see what is I think the team's called Rossini or something like that, and within that you have a German guy and a Finnish guy. So you work down, you also think, well, that's clearly Williams, that's clearly Ferrari, that's Force India. So all the nationalities of the drivers.
No Rico Nosberg.
No, afraid not.
Such a missed opportunity for racing driver names.
Afraid not.
No, well, it's good that I could see they've kept the vibe and the atmosphere, everything else, and you've got lots of options. Tim, tell me some of the highlights that you've had in your sort of racing experience. You've played it a limited amount so far, working your way through the sort of GP3 level. Tell me about some of your best experiences so far.
Sure. So I'll be honest. I've had a pretty ropey start to my career. My best finish, I think, is on the 11th, but my sponsor target is 13th. So I should say that built within the game is a whole sponsorship package, and you agree which sponsors you want to appear on the car, and depending on your results you'll get certain different monetary rewards. So at the moment I'm aiming to finish above 13th, which for a team which is predicted to finish 8th out of 10 teams in the championship is probably pretty much where I'm going to be expecting to be finishing for the rest of the year. That said though, a lot of fun. Within this particular championship, there is no qualifying. So how you start up on the grid is reverse order by your driver championship table. So if you're 20th in the championship, you're going to be on pole for the start of the race. So thankfully I have, in a weird kind of way, I've actually been at the front of the grid for a lot of the races so far, and that's where, you know, if it's a dry day, you know, you just see yourself tumble down the pecking order. But the latest race I've done is actually in the Ardennes. It's Spa, no surprise, it's wet, and started I think on the second and third row of the grid, and I was leading in the wet for the first half of the race. Great fun. Safety car came out.
Feeling that stress and pressure. Like,
absolutely.
Come on, please don't crash. Please don't break down.
Absolutely, but somebody did crash. A safety car came out. I had about sort of 4 laps of fuel left. Dived straight into the pits. Thankfully, everybody else decided to jump straight into the pits, and you come back out in the lead, and then you follow the safety car around. So that immediate feeling of you are part of the motor racing, they've got this strategy right, the developers have got the real feel right within the game, and you suddenly realise, oh my god, I'm genuinely enjoying this. And you know, the races, they're not quick, you know, we're talking sort of 30-40 laps per race, and even on the fastest setting that you set it to, it still takes about 30 seconds for the cars to complete a lap. So you're talking, you know, a good sort of 20-25 minutes per race of real time. But you kind of need that because there's so much going on, and yeah, you do get periods of like 4 or 5 laps where nothing's happening, but all the time you're looking at the condition of your car, you're thinking about your next pit stop, how that's going to materialize, and then you've got options as well in terms of, you know, you look at the condition of the car, can you fix anything, how much time is that going to add to your pit stop, do you go for a safe pit stop or do you risk it? And so there's a percentage which tells you how likely your pit stop is going to be messed up, you know, if you try to rush it through to save yourself an extra few more seconds. So it's all those sorts of things where you've got to think about. And again, you know, if you're middle of the pecking order, perhaps you can sort of risk it and go for a safer stop. If you're at the top, where it's all about every second counts, you might want to risk it a bit more. But obviously, if you get it wrong, then obviously you're going to feel it.
Well, it sounds like an all-round, much deeper experience, much more fulfilling as a racing fan as well. It sounds like you have the action of sort of the pressure, if you like, you're feeling on your team, on your driver for every result, as well as the instances that can happen in the race and the politics surrounding it, which sounds very intriguing. I hope they have enough different sort of scenarios in there to keep it entertaining all the way through. But either way, I think if they have all that and they continue to update the game, it sounds really good. I mean, finally, I'll just give us your feelings so far on how it's progressed. Where do you rate it? Any good?
Well, look, I mean, for say that, I think one thing which has really appealed so far is, you know, racing's great. You know, being on the pit wall and the strategy of the actual thing is great. What's particularly fantastic is, I think, any true Formula One fan, we love the races, most of them, but it's the action off track that really the true F1 fan, you know, is equally fascinated about. You know, what is Bernie Ecclestone doing? You know, what's Charlie Whiting doing? How does Charlie Whiting deal with drivers who aren't particularly polite on radios? Funnily enough, I actually got a quote come up towards the end of my last race that I did, where the driver actually said GP management, which is the in-game FIA, said they can bleep off. So, you know, it's bang up to date in terms of that. It was just such a hilarity to see that. You know, but there's other things. You know, you are part of the in-game FIA, so to speak, in that you do get involved in votes that will change the outcome of rules and regulations for the following season. It's that kind of thing which just adds so much more depth to the management sim. You've still got the same contract negotiations to deal with and everything you'd expect within the management sim as well, but It's just those little nuances that you don't sort of find in any other management game to date. So, I think it'll be interesting to know, what's it going to be like in 3 or 4 months' time, or am I still going to be sort of super eager to play? I hope they continue to develop it. Is it a perfect game? There are a few little things which are like that could be done with the patch, what have you. But on the whole, it's a damn good effort at the moment, and really excited to see how the game, hopefully the franchise, develops in years to come. Brilliant.
Well, Tim, thanks for your time today. I look forward to testing it as well. Well done to the developers, really. I'm really impressed with the way it's come along, and as you've said to me, everybody who's played it has been glued to it so far. They've just sat down and the hours have absolutely disappeared. This will munch your life away, but it will be very pleasurable for racing fans. So, Tim, thanks very much for your time today.
Thank you.
So that's it for this look at Motorsport Manager. We'll have more content coming up on the channel in the coming days. Lots to look forward to there, plus loads of other stuff as well. So do keep an eye on the channel for more on that, and on the website, and we'll have a review up within the next few weeks as well. Keep an eye out for that. But that's it from me for now, viewers. As ever, more soon.
Well, how do you like it?
Makes me feel